Well, good morning, folks. Welcome back to the farm. It is a glorious, well, not really. It's kind of cloudy and overcast, but it's lovely. It's actually quite warm. Glorious morning. Yeah, minus 16. A lot better than the minus 45 we had the other day. Anyways, one thing that's probably not on your minds right now is summertime and getting a whole bunch of meat chickens and moving around in chicken tractors. But, well, now is the time to think about it so that you are prepared. And what happened to come in the mail the other day? But the catalog from the Hatchery. So today we're going to be talking about the donkeys. No, today we're going to be talking about the 8 things that you should be thinking about right now before you get your meat chickens. Especially if you've never had meat chickens before. Let's get ahead of the game. Don't panic order. Have everything show up. Be unprepared. That just kind of sets you up for failure. So here's the 8 things you need to be ready for. You should be thinking about before ordering your meat chickens. So the first thing you're going to want to do is check with your local municipality, especially if you live in town or some type of a rural subdivision. There's going to be potential for limitations on how many, if any, birds at all that you can keep depending on your location and the land use bylaws in that area. So I know there's some folks out there that'll be like, it's easier to beg forgiveness than it is to ask permission. But I tell you, there's no worse way to find out that you hate your neighbors than having the bylaw officer stop by and tell you that you need to rehome your birds halfway through the season. So just check. The second thing you want to do is plan how you're going to house your birds. So meat chickens require 2 stages of accommodation. So the first stage is in the brooder. It needs to be a warm, dry, expandable space to accommodate kind of the initial rapid growth of the birds, and it's going to require an adjustable heat source with easy access to food and water and the ability to turn light on and off. The second stage is in the chicken tractor. So this should be a lightweight, easily mobile structure that provides shelter from the rain and the wind, but allows in lots of light. And you're looking for about 4 to 6 square feet of space per bird. And now wintertime is a fantastic time to go ahead and get your chicken tractor assembled because they generally don't take up a bunch of space. It's not a big project, and you can skid it outside and leave it up against a snowbank essentially until you're ready to use it in the spring. So chicken tractors are very simple, lightweight structures. They can be moved easily by one person. And I mean, do what we did. We used just excess material or just scrap material essentially that we had laying around. So that it was very, very cheap to construct. I think we did ours for about $50 a piece or something like that. So not super expensive. The third thing you're going to want to do is source your birds through a reputable hatchery. So here's where, if you can, try and look for volume pricing. So if you can go in with friends, family, neighbors, other like-minded chicken keepers in your community, you can save quite a bit. Now how much? So say if I just want 20 chickens, right? So the hatchery that we use currently is going to charge me $4.45 per chick. So for 20 chickens, that's $89 in total. If 5 families get together and order 100 chickens, you get that volume price, right? So the hatchery is going to charge now $3.20 per chick, or a total of $64, right? So that's a $25 difference on your order of 20 chicks. What are you gonna do with $25? Well, I mean, you could get your first bag of chicken feed, maybe a bag and a half, depending on what you're getting. You get a new processing cone, you get a cheap case of beer so you can sit out there and watch your chickens, whatever you want to do with that $25. But if you can save money, why wouldn't you? The only thing I would recommend if you're going to do that kind of group purchase thing is figure out who's making the purchase and make sure you get paid, right? So you don't want to get gypped by somebody. The next thing, number 4, determine where and when your chicks are going to be delivered. So, and especially if you're doing group purchasing, you're going to need to coordinate the pickup and distribution like a well-oiled machine so that those chicks don't get too cold. Plan to have your chicks come out of the brooder and into the tractor during seasonally mild weather. And in terms of like when you're thinking about delivery, think about when you're going to want to get them out of the brooder and outside. So for an example, we take delivery of our chicks at the end of April, so that 4 weeks later, kind of the last week of May, first week of June, something like that, then it's milder and we can get them back out into the chicken tractors. So putting four-week can't even speak right now, putting 4-week-old chicks outside when it's -10, it's snowing, it's raining, it's cold, it's miserable. What that does, I mean, for sure it's going to increase your mortality, for sure. But for those that survive that, stunts their growth terribly. And so they need to get out when they have access to sunshine and bugs, essentially, right? Number 5, and this is very important for those that have not previously gotten meat chicks before, maybe are a little bit, they're just kind of foraying into it for the first time, is develop a comprehensive list of equipment that's required essentially from cradle to grave. Forgive the choice of words there, but essentially, you need to plan your brooder space, get heat lamps, chick waters, chick feeders, wood shavings, chicken tractors, and then chicken waterers, chicken feeders, processing cones, a selection of knives, scalding pot, plucking machine, plastic tables, wash station, freezer bags, appropriate amount of freezer space, because you get 25 or 30 chickens at the end of the year. You gotta have somewhere to put them. Now, some of those items like feeders and waters, they're going to last you multiple years. Like feeders and waters, I mean, we've had on average about 5 years we get out of them before we got to replace them. Some other items might be just you got to buy them every year, like bags is an example, right? You're not going to reuse your plastic bags. Some of those things are lifelong examples. So you get like a resin table or a plastic table or a chicken plucker. You're sure hoping you get more than 5 years out of a chicken plucker. Those are generally like lifelong things that amortize over several years, and so they might be big initial purchases, but they're not going to be, the upfront cost is expensive, but they last you for many years to come. So whatever you buy, generally, I mean, it's easy. Oh, I want to do this cheaply, but try to buy for quality, durability, and functionality, and then figure out the price after that. I mean, your chickens don't need gold-plated waters, but they also don't need some cheap Chinese plastic garbage that's just going to break and have to be replaced twice a year. Now, you'll notice that I mentioned feeders and waters, chick waters, and then chicken waterers, and the same with feeders. So here's the thing, chick water or chick feeders from the store aren't always necessary. You can use like a cardboard egg carton if you want for a chick feeder. The whole purpose with the chick feeder is it just kind of stops them from pooping in their feed source, essentially, and accidentally ingesting poop, which, as you can imagine, is not good. By the time the chicks are out of the brooder, you're looking at not so much keeping them from eating poop. You're looking at how can I possibly ever feed these things enough, because some of them have an absolute voracious appetite. So you might be looking for an 18-pound or 20-pound, or even in some cases 30-pound, depending on the bird, depending on how big your chicken tractor is. But a large gravity feeder works quite well. Number 6, next, we talk about feeders, right? So you're going to need to develop a feeding plan for your chickens. So some breeds, as I mentioned, especially the Cornish cross, are absolutely voracious eaters. And you're going to have like increasing volumes of chick starter, poultry grower, and then poultry finisher at the different stages of their development. So day 1 to week 3, you're looking, you're going to need 20 to 23% protein chick starter, which will either be medicated if you haven't vaccinated them, or unmedicated if you have vaccinated them for coccidiosis. Week 3 onwards, you're looking at 16 to 18% chick grower. And then when you do that and you make that transition, mix the starter and the grower gradually over the course of a week, so you don't cause a digestive upset, because again, that can cause growth issues and development issues. So anytime you make a dietary change, just make sure you do it gradually. And then the finisher, the homemade chop, or whatever you're going to use for the last 2 weeks before processing, just make sure that you kind of understand how many chicks you've got, how much total weight of feed you're going to need of those varying types of feed, and over the course of the 8 to 10 weeks or whatever you're going to keep the birds for, and figure out what that's going to cost, because that is a large expense that once you have the birds, you're committed to, right? So just know what you're getting into. Number 7 is where are they going to go? Plot out a path for the chicken tractor movement every day over your, again, 8 to 10 weeks, right? So what you don't want to do is have them go into the chicken tractor right out of the brooder and then just basically go 12 feet further and further and further away every single day, and then come butchering day you've got to walk 6 miles to go get them. So we generally do like a kind of a serpentine pattern around the yard, so they generally end up close to where we want to butcher at the end of the season, kind of thing, right? So they're going to see the freezer. They're not going to see the Wizard of Oz, essentially, right? Now with meat chickens, they really should move once a day. As they get older, they get, 8 weeks especially, they should be probably moving twice a day. Now, this isn't because they stir up a bunch of dirt and wreck the soil or anything like that. Meat chickens don't generally scratch and dig as much as their layer counterparts. What they do is poop a lot, right? And so in order to keep things clean and hygienic, and also prevent nitrogen overload on a 10 by 12 patch soil, or however big your chicken tractor is, you should be moving them quite frequently. Now, number 8, the last thing you can do, okay, think about week 9 or 10 or whenever you want to butcher, and how are we gonna manage this? If it's just you by yourself, good luck. If it's just you and your spouse, well, you'll figure out your differences pretty quick. I would probably think right now about start enlisting some help. Who can come? It's a very exciting day, but it's a pile of work, right? And good help can be hard to come by. It really can. So some people want to eat chicken, but they are just one handful of guts away from becoming a full-blown vegetarian. So, it's delicious, but once you see the inside of it, it's not everybody's cup of tea, right? So you want some iron-stomached OGs to come over and help. And that's where, especially if you're doing that group purchase that we talked about in the beginning, maybe enlisting the help of some of those other producers, those homesteaders, for kind of a work bee. You help them with theirs, they help you with yours. That can work. That can work really good. Many hands make light work. So what we typically do for our 100 chickens, we're looking at one person that's dispatching, 2 people plucking, 4 people processing, and we can have that wrapped up in, 2 to 3 hours. So it works pretty efficiently. So how do you enlist help if maybe you don't have a whole pile of homesteading friends or folks out there that can that are like-minded? Maybe you're the only person doing this in your community, right? So it's not college and you're not moving a couch, but you know what? Pizza and beer help. Pizza and beer are still acceptable bribes to get people to do work. You can also send people home with some of the fruits of their labors. Send them home with a bag of chicken. The one thing I would never do though is, and you probably want to do this because it's a bigger day, is plan for a meal. Plan to feed your help. Don't plan to feed them chicken on the day that they butcher chicken, because again, think about the vegetarian piece. Yeah, once you're done reaching into the guts of 100 chickens, you're probably not going to want to eat chicken that day. Maybe not for a couple days. Anyways, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a like. Maybe give it a share. If you found it really useful, even think about subscribing. But for now, I gotta get out. As you can see, I'm in the tractor. I gotta go feed the cows. So I'll let you go for now. I hope you have a fantastic day. We'll see you tomorrow.